channel, welcome back to Up On It. I am Charlene and Happy New Year. I think this is actually technically the first video that I'm putting out in 2018 and I hope that this year for all of us is fruitful, is successful, is productive, that every goal that we have set we will smash and all the things that we intend to do we will accomplish them. So let's go. So this video today is another in the installment for the university series and it's going to be all about my masters and also masters in general. So I get asked a lot, what was your masters like and is it actually worth it in this day and age to do a masters? Like, what's the point of it? So hopefully in this video today I'll be able to break down my experiences, what I got out of it, talk a little about funding that you can access and how to pay for it and what the overall experience was like and whether or not I think having a masters is worth it or not. So to give you a bit of background on how I ended up doing a masters, so my masters was actually in law and I did international law. So as you'll know if you watched any of my previous videos, I kind of hated the first 2 years of my undergraduate law degree. So for me to do a masters in law was very far-fetched for me. I thought I might do a masters in something at some point, but I didn't expect to do it literally straight after my first degree. And it happened because my third year, for third year students or final year students, you can pick the electives, things you want to study. And I ended up picking a lot about education and inequality and women. And I was like, oh my gosh, I actually really enjoy this side of it. I enjoy international law, I understand it, I'm good at it. So after a conversation with a friend, I was like, I think I'm gonna do a masters in law, which was crazy to me. It doesn't sound like something you kind of stumble upon. It sounds like a pretty big decision, but it kind of just happened. And then I spoke to my academic advisor and she was like, come back, why not? So I applied, got in and did a masters in law, specializing in international law. And for me, it was great. I knew that it was something that I was interested in and that I wanted to do. And the difference it makes when you want to do something as opposed to feeling like you are obligated to do something, it was definitely super challenging. It was, the hardest academic thing I've ever done so far anyway, but it was also the most rewarding. It's also what I did the best in my whole academic life up to date. It's what I did the most well in and it's what I enjoyed the most, and if anyone ever wants to read my dissertation, let me know. One thing I would say with doing a master's as well is that it's not like the centralised UCAS system for undergraduates. You do have to apply to the universities individually, so call them up, ask them if you have any questions about it, and the process is a little bit different. The statement you have to write is a little bit more different. You have to kind of talk about the things you'd want to research, what you're interested in a little bit more depth, obviously, because you would have had an undergraduate degree. So it's not necessarily about your personality in that way, it's more about what you've done and what you hope to continue to do. So I would advise, if you are applying for a master's, really know what you're talking about, really know what your area of interest is and what you're planning on researching and why, and how you want to carry that forward, what you've done so far and how you want to carry that forward. I think it's really important. If you are thinking of doing a master's degree, you have to have your why. And for me, it wouldn't have been enough to just, oh, I'm doing a master's because, you want to do a master's so you can say you're doing a master's. That doesn't cut it. It is hard and it is expensive, and so I think if you're doing a master's, your why has to be very strong. And for me, in the type of work that I was interested in and I'm interested in for now and for the future, I had to have a master's. I had to have a postgraduate degree. There were some careers that you won't even get a foot in the door if you don't have a postgraduate degree. So a lot of humanitarian work, a lot of international law, a lot of politics at a certain level, science at a certain level. You have to have a PhD, you have to have a master's as a minimum, and so I knew that. So I knew that at some point I would do it, so I thought, why not just do it now? So if you know that for your career you need to have a postgraduate, then that is obviously very strong reason to do it. If it's an interest, if it's an interest and you have the funding available to you, then of course you can do it. But I would say really think about your why. So one reason why you have to know your why is because it's definitely not cheap. So if you are doing a postgrad just to pass the time because you don't want to leave uni, it's a very expensive way to pass the time. Really know your why. Financing it is not cheap. Masters in the UK can range from about £5 to about 20 grand depending on where you're going. So really have a strong reason why you're doing it. And I think if you're anything like me, my parents have always been super supportive of everything I've done academically, but because I decided to do a master's literally kind of randomly straight after I did my first degree, didn't have £20,000 lying around, so I had to work, and also I had to get a career development loan. So that only goes up to 10 grand. So if your master's more, you will have to, like I did work as well on the side, and I was lucky to be able to work for the university in a really great role, as well as doing my master's as well. So definitely check out, see if your university has any kind of more office-based stuff that you can do whilst you are working, doing your masters. You know, they might have some research roles that you can do, so definitely check that out. That's another way to fund that. So one thing you have to bear in mind about the career development loan is that it is not like your undergraduate student loan that everybody can access. There is a higher rate of interest on it. It's like a real bank loan, and you know, as soon as you graduate, that next month is coming out like clockwork. Over kind of £200 per month you're paying back straight away after you graduate, so do bear that in mind. And there's obviously interest on that as well, and again, it's limited. It only goes up to £10,000. So if your master's costs more than that, you will have to get something on the side that you can do to raise those funds as well. So definitely have a look at that, and have a look at different types of funding. You know, science, there is a lot more funding for science degrees, annoyingly, than there is for any kind of humanities or social science degrees. So definitely, if you're a science, you should be able to access some kind of funding or some kind of scholarships. If you are humanities, if you're politics, law, sociology, anything like that, English, there's usually not that much funding, so you probably will have to get some kind of loan, or hopefully you have some savings that you can add to it as well, and then also working on the side as well. So that's how most people fund their postgraduates, unless you are incredibly lucky and your family just has it like that. In that case, good for you. So you'll be all right then. Alternatively, of course, you can wait a few years. So I had a friend who waited 3 years, saved up some money, and then went back to university. That's obviously the best way to do it. However, a lot of people find it harder to go back into university once they've come out, once they've started working. A lot of people, unless you're really determined, won't go back to do the degree. So I would say, if you are thinking about doing a postgraduate, put money aside. If you're not even sure, but just put money aside, but we probably will have to work as well on the side. Another way you can actually fund is also to crowdfund. So one of my really good friends, she did crowdfunding, and it was all over the news. It was called Oxford 10,000. You can literally type in Oxford 10,000 and loads of articles will come up, and she managed to raise way more than £10,000. So she had money saved, but she didn't have enough for the masters, and she'd got given a place at Oxford University. If you get given a place at Oxford, you find a way to go to Oxford, and so she raised the rest of the money, and she went to Oxford, and she's now graduated and has a great job. So you know, there are different ways of funding. Be very creative. If you don't want a loan, of course, be very creative, crowdfund if you need to as well. So now moving on to the how did I do it and did I enjoy it? Someone asked me this on my Instagram. So how did I do it and did I enjoy it? You can imagine, international law is not, it's not ABC, you know. There's a lot of information to remember, and so yes, definitely it was tough. It was really tough. There were times where I thought I wasn't gonna make it, but you know, we made it in the end. There was a lot of I had a playlist at the time that I would literally play every day that would like get me out of bed. There was a lot of Laura Mvula on there. She don't stop. So yeah, definitely was very challenging, but I absolutely loved it, and I would absolutely do it again. I would actually probably do another postgraduate degree, but you know, I'm not paying for it this time, so someone else would have to fund me. You also have to be just very prepared that it is a different level of work. Like, they stretch you. The first piece of work I sent in, I think I resent it 3 times, and my professor was like, no, try again. No, try again. No, try again. And I was like, oh. Once I, you know, got comfortable with what they expected, I was able to do really well in it, and I'd get work back and I'd be like, oh, okay, she's smart. What do you do with it? What did I do with it? So what you do with it is up to you. Like I said, there are some careers and some jobs where you cannot get a foot through the door if you do not have a postgraduate degree. So with that, obviously, you need to have that to prove that you are capable of doing it, because it's not just research, it's practical. For me, I did it because of the kind of stuff that I'm interested in and pursuing and want to continue to pursue. So I knew that for the kinds of careers and things I was interested in, I had to have a master's. So you know, do your Googles, see what kind of things are required for your career. You don't want to be working for 10 years and then have to go back to do a postgraduate degree and like fund it yourself, and because you can't get into a level of work that you want to. So definitely, you know, if you're undergraduate now, or you know, you've just started your career, check it out to see if you do need a postgraduate, because it's long kind of going back and having to do that again. But yeah, for me, I knew that I had to get a master's for what I wanted to do in the long run. So you know, I'm glad I did it when I did it then, and it's there, it's banked. So you know, whenever I want to use it, or whatever, any job that I want to do that needs it, I have it there. So yeah, if you need it for your career, absolutely do it, but it comes in handy. If you don't need it, not every career will need it. If you don't need it, like, it's not by force. I'd also say it's worth it if you are maybe going into a field that you didn't do your undergraduate in. So one of my really good friends studied biology as an undergraduate, but was always very kind of business minded, worked in advertising when she graduated, worked in financial technology. So before she went into that, she was kind of like, well, I mean, I have this entrepreneurial brain, but I don't necessarily know the academic side of business. So she went to do a master's to learn more about the kind of the business and academic and accounts and finance, and then went into her financial technology role. So if you are wanting to do something like that, I think that's absolutely worth it. I think it's always worth it to learn, and as you do your practical side as well. So if you are wanting to go to an industry that you haven't maybe studied, don't know as academically well, then I would say yes, do a master's as well. I think that's definitely worth it. So guys, I hope that's given you a little bit of information about doing a master's in the UK, and also a little bit about, you know, my journey of doing a master's. I definitely encourage you, if you want to do a master's and you possibly need to do a master's for your career, but you're a bit apprehensive, you're a bit nervous, I would say go for it. You know, even if you don't think you're going to use it straight away, if you know that at some point you could use it, I would say just do it. Don't write yourself off because you think it's going to be really hard. Trust me, I made it through that law degree, I made it through that master's in law, and I did well in it. So you can absolutely smash it if you want to. It will definitely stretch you, but the end result is worth it, and you will be so proud of yourself when you graduate. You look back and you're like, wow, I did that. Any questions, of course, always email me at stayinguponit@gmail.com. If you want, you can follow me on all of my socials, so Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, everything is at Stayinguponit. I love reading your little messages that you send me on in my direct messages. So yeah, definitely continue to share, comment, like, subscribe, and I will see you guys next week. Remember to stay up on it. Bye guys.